can't imagine in that situation not being able to see, and then the state telling you you have no right to be able to protect yourself in your home with a firearm.
That's Ben Ferguson on CNN's New Day defending Iowa's decision to give gun permits to people who are blind. Let me say that again. Gun permits for people who are blind. Ben, to quote John McEnroe, you cannot be serious.
I am serious, and I'm not talking about having them walk around and be able to have a permit to carry. I'm talking about them being able to defend themselves in their home. And the majority of people in this country, 14.3 million adults, that doesn't count anybody under the age of 18, are declared legally blind by America's standards. The majority of those people actually can see, and a lot of them actually are able to drive with certain restrictions.
Right, but
so when you talk
hang on,
about blind people,
you're not wriggling off the hook like that, because I listened to the whole interview this morning and you clarified that you meant even for people who are totally blind, not partially blind.
Absolutely.
Or vision impaired. Let's talk about people who are totally blind, i.e. people who would be prohibited from driving a car, from flying a plane, for any of those things. What possible sense can there be in people who literally cannot see at all wielding a firearm at anyone that possibly comes into their home?
You're implying that somehow blind people are less than you are because you can see. Blind people, because they're blind, aren't stupid. And if you talk to blind people, especially
I said they shouldn't be wielding firearms.
But you're acting as if a blind person somehow loses their God-given right in their own home to protect themselves if someone kicks in their back door at 4 a.m. And if you talk to blind people who live alone, they're not idiots. They're not imbeciles. They know where their back door is, and they know if there's someone coming into their house to threaten their life. And I would ask you this. For blind people that may not be watching tonight but may be listening, how would you tell them to protect themselves if someone's kicking in their door at 4 a.m.? What's your solution?
How would they know that it wasn't a neighbour who was perhaps concerned about them? Well, you may laugh, but only last week. Only last week. Wait a minute.
How many times have your neighbours come over?
Only last week we had a tragic case of an 18-year-old girl who hid in a closet to surprise a friend in a house, and when she jumped out to surprise him, the guy killed her because he had a gun on him and wasn't expecting her to be there.
You're talking about two people that were blind.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're talking about two people. You can't fix stupid, Piers. The two people you just talked about are 18-year-old kids that both could see, and they did something stupid. Majority of people that are blind, their family and friends, are very careful to make sure that they don't surprise them, and they respect the fact that they are blind. To imply that a blind person is going to have a neighbor walk over at 2 o'clock in the morning and go surprise when you can't see anyway is a terrible analogy.
Ben, do you think that blind people agree with you that they should have the right to have guns?
The blind people that I've talked to today that have emailed and called and sent tweets to me have said overwhelmingly, especially those that are single and live alone, that they think that they should have the right, keyword, in their home to be able to protect themselves. And I ask you again the same question. The question I asked you earlier. What is your solution, and what would you tell blind people who are listening tonight to defend themselves if someone kicks in their back door at 4 a.m. if you think that not having a gun is inappropriate?
Yeah, well, I would call the police and tell them to call the police. But let's listen to somebody
and wait for 15, 20 minutes?
I am not blind, and nor are you. However, I do know somebody who's very famous and very blind, and that is Stevie Wonder, who I actually talked to about this issue. Watch this clip.
I was thinking, you know, because I saw you on the TV talking about the whole gun thing, and I was talking to one of my friends. I said, you know what, you should go get me a gun, or me go with you to get a gun, and then like show how easy it is for me to get a gun, and then imagine me with a gun. It's just crazy. I think that we have to do something about it. And
so Stevie Wonder thinks it's crazy, and he's blind, Ben. Even he thinks your idea is completely crazy.
Yeah, and the one time I tried to meet Stevie Wonder in Memphis, Tennessee on Beale Street, guess what? He had security guards that were around him to protect him. So the guy who has security guards, it's a lot easier for him to not have a gun. Think about it for a second. He's famous. He has resources. He has money. But not every blind person in America has the resources that Stevie Wonder has as an amazing musician in his life with millions of dollars. That's not reality for most average Americans that are blind.
So you would like everyone who's totally blind in America, just to clarify, to have the right to bear arms, which means at the moment, and we've discussed this before, they could have the right to have, say, an AR-15.
I think any person
yes or no?
that is blind, that is willing to go through and make sure what is correct for them. I don't want to mandate anyone have a gun that doesn't want to have one. But I think they should have the right to bear arms because they're not handicapped mentally because they're blind. They're not lesser citizens because they're blind. We have laws that protect against this. And because you're blind doesn't mean that you have to be a sitting duck in your own house in America for people to harm you.
I want to play you, just very quickly to finish this, a clip. This is from a company in Texas that is legally turning assault rifles like AR-15s into machine guns. Watch this clip. Just quick question, Ben. Will you be happy for blind people in America to be armed with one of those for anyone that perhaps knocks on their door in the middle of the night?
I don't think the majority of blind people are somehow dumb and are going to think that's the appropriate weapon for them. I respect blind people, Piers, and I think that they are old enough, mature enough as adults to make their own decisions. I don't have to hold their hand. To imply that I want to give them this, I think is absurd. Okay. These people can make the decision what is correct for them, and it doesn't mean that I'm implying they should have a almost semi-automatic or fully automatic weapon. Okay.